Morning everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Apricot Wilson, Head of Impact and Risk at the Luxembourg Microfinance and Development Fund, an impact investment fund focused on providing financing to emerging MFIs around the globe. Having previously spoken to partners in Latin America, Africa and Southeast Asia, today we are turning our attention to Central Asia, an area where we have around 10% of our portfolio in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan and Tajikistan. We work with 8 partners in the region and are delighted to have 2 on the line today. We have Denis, the CEO of OXUS Kyrgyzstan, an MFI born from active projects in the rural and southern areas of the country with a diversified product range. And Joachim, the CEO of Furuz, which also provides diversified products to predominantly rural micro-entrepreneurs in Tajikistan. Tajikistan has taken a rather different approach to the lockdown, as we will hear today. We also have on the line Farida, who is the Regional Manager of Microfinance rating for Central Asia, the Caucasus and Russia, based out of Bishkek, Kyrgyz Republic. She's worked for MFR for 5 years and has conducted over 50 financial and social assessments of the MFIs. Just wanted to thank you all for being here today. I think we may as well get started straight away. Perhaps with you, Farida. Could you introduce yourself and your work very briefly and tell us a bit about how the lockdown has been implemented in Kyrgyzstan?
Thank you, Apricot. My name is Farida. As you have said, I am a regional manager for MFR. MFR is a specialized rating agency that works in inclusive finance sector. We provide financial and social ratings and client protection certifications. Now, if we talk about lockdown in the Kyrgyz Republic, we need to first say that the first COVID case was registered on March 16, and shortly after, on March 25th, the government has announced full lockdown in selected regions. 3 major cities were affected and some regions in the south. Later, the lockdown was extended to Narin region and Narin city and also some regions of the oblast. Lockdown means that you have to sit at home, unfortunately, but you can go out for essential shopping within 1.5 kilometers around your house. And of course, if you need to go to a drugstore or medicine, so food delivery is in place. It should also be noted that one of the consequences of some of the pressures that our country feels is pressure of the oil prices going down. It's not quite related to coronavirus, but it is a result. Oil prices are reflecting closed borders, reduced traveling, etc. Remittances comprise around 30% of GDP, both in the Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan. And as you may imagine, reduced amount of remittances is putting pressure on income of local population, but also work migrants in Russia are in a difficult situation. Those that have lost their income, they are forced to sit at home and they cannot return back to their country. On the other, the positive news is that lockdown is being, there is a phased exit plan for lockdown starting from May 1st. Microfinance institutions are expected to return on May 11th in the Kyrgyz Republic.
Thanks very much. And Joachim, the situation in Tajikistan is rather different, if I'm not much mistaken, although I think there's some changes now occurring. Oh, can't hear you at the moment, sorry.
Oh, I turned my mic off, so I have my mic on. Thank you. Hello, everybody. In Tajikistan, officially, we don't have any corona cases, but still, right before Ramadan, the mosques were closed until the end of Ramadan. The schools were closed on Monday and the kindergartens. And just today, we heard the news that the non-food parts of the bazaars are closed as well, not the shops. And we're expecting a WHO team to arrive tomorrow to check out us here. But basically, we're affected not by all of that so much yet, but more by Russia, as Farida alluded to. Russia has been affected by the dropping of oil price, and our Tajik migrant workers make up 30% of GDP in Tajikistan. They're really hurt by the lockdown there, that for a month they haven't been able to work. Actually, more than half of them have not been able to work, and for 1.5 months, Tajik migrant workers couldn't travel to Russia, as right now is a high season to travel and go there for work. That is affecting lending a lot here, and people are quite scared.
So even without the lockdown in place, you're seeing quite substantial changes to Furuz's business.
Because Russia is affecting us so much, exactly. So people are, sorry?
I was going to ask, are you noticing the attitude of your clients changing as well?
Yeah, we are seeing that people are really careful taking out new loans, even for agriculture, which we didn't expect to happen. So if they have a cattle or 2 or 3, they rather sell that and buy fertilizer for their harvest instead of taking a loan, which I usually would have done. But they want to be on the safe side. I would say that applies to maybe 80–90% of our clients, to really be on the safe side, be careful, extra careful right now. Who knows what happens? There's so much bad news out there. There's a lot of rumors out there, and people believe rumors a lot. So that's leading, of course, also to that in the same way in Europe as well.
Certainly. And Farida, moving back to you, we've got this harsh lockdown in Kyrgyzstan. How have MFIs been able to adapt to it? Have they been able to continue their operations?
So far, I think MFIs, similar to the market, to the global sector, have adopted several strategies. So one is how you deal with your safety, staff safety and client safety, meaning health safety. So there are sanitizers or masks, because some branches are still open in those areas where possible, that are not affected by lockdown, as far as I know. While on the other hand, there is also active loan restructuring going on. The National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic recommended the sector to restructure as many loans as possible, only in those cases when borrowers were affected by COVID-19. The restructuring in this case really means delaying your payment while interest is being accrued. At the same time, regulator allowed institutions not to classify these restructured loans as risky. So that is somewhat helping for financial service providers. And different institutions, Apricot, are taking different approach. Some are curbing lending, becoming more cautious, while there is one of largest MFIs that decided to use the situation as an opportunity, and they disbursed a lot of consumption and refinancing loans because they think that borrowers need money to support their basic needs at the time when they lost income.
Interesting. A very different approach. I'm also interested, and I know your background is in technology, or you've had quite a lot of experience with technology, Farida. How has this been used by MFIs in Kyrgyzstan?
I think when you look at digitalization, it's overall not it's an inception stage in the Kyrgyz Republic. MFIs in the Kyrgyz Republic are mostly credit only. Although the law allows them to do deposits, they are not allowed to open a banking account for a borrower, meaning their own account. So they don't have current accounts of borrowers. That impedes creation of internet banking or mobile banking. So the situation is a bit different in Tajikistan, where some micro deposit organizations, they provide a range of services comparable to the banking sector. On the other hand, it should be noted that in Kyrgyz Republic provides good opportunity for development of digital tools. We are the second cheapest country for internet. There is a British research agency called Jaeckle, and it provides ranking of countries around the world for the cost of mobile internet, and we are number 2 after India. Well, Tajikistan is unfortunately number 103, so it places 103rd. So it's much more difficult in terms of opportunities that local population have, but MFIs have more freedom due to regulation. So there are institutions in Tajikistan that are already taking advantage of the situation, and they are filling the niche when banks are curbing lending, and they are being very fast and providing remote services. They are going to clients to get contracts signed. They have delivery people for contracts. In the Kyrgyz Republic, there are also some innovative ideas, like the exchange contract by WhatsApp. I think Denis will tell more today, but full-scale fintech services is yet to be developed in our country.
And I suppose, Denis, you've got a very good invitation in there. We'd be very interested to know how you've been preparing at OXUS. Perhaps first we can start with technologically and communication side of things, and then the more general operation side of things.
Okay, thank you very much. Good day, everybody. So Denis speaking. So talking about the technological breakthrough of OXUS during this time, I would say that we did a quite big step towards this. Now our clients accept and understand the importance of the communication way in the form of application WhatsApp. So we accept all the applications for everything, for restructuring, for new loan via WhatsApp. They can send documents to make photo and to send via WhatsApp. As Farida said, the penetration of the mobile internet, it's quite strong and quite high in the country. So even in each family we have big families with the young old people, and also in each family we have a smartphone which can be used to send application, to ask. So what in our case, what we do now, that this application for restructuring, we send just the example of what should be written. They write on the paper, handwriting, then they make a photo, they send to us. So we process the application, and later we send also by WhatsApp back. Yeah, look guys, so this is your payment schedule. Are you okay, not okay? So yeah, it's a bit too much. Okay, let's then change, and then we change, and then we agree upon it via this, without coming to office. I mean, it can be several kilometers, it can be lockdown, whatever. So, and then it helps us a lot. So we use also our web page. Sorry?
Can I ask, were you using WhatsApp at all prior to the crisis?
I didn't get that.
Did you use WhatsApp at all with your clients prior to the crisis, or is this a completely new move?
Yeah, no. Actually, we did not use it so much. We did not use it so much. Sometimes our loan officers send notifications to clients via WhatsApp because it's easier, cheaper. But now what we see, it's quite extensive. Also, we have a company's WhatsApp where we can receive any claims, any problems, issues, and other things through this WhatsApp. So it's kind of very good step forward. Plus we have a website where they can also order the callback, or they can apply for a loan. So it doesn't matter. So they also can attach actual documents, and we can process the application. Clients can only come and sign the documents. I mean, in case we don't need to go to analysis, to financial analysis. But coming to this, yeah, we did a huge step before. So after we saw the, let's say, the lockdown in China, we understood that the Chinese goods will slow down coming to Bishkek. Also, we understood that we have some Chinese companies working in the country, and then we also limited the disbursements to those companies, to the employees of those companies. So further, we started to limit, to understand and to see the international transport services. Also, it was far before the crisis. It was February somewhere, and then in March, after we received these new cases, yeah, we started, let's say, we shifted a lot of responsibilities to HQ from the branches, just to show them, to understand what to disburse and how to disburse. Plus, what we did from operation sides, we also started to restructure even before the National Bank proposed to restructure, which was a very good move for the clients, for this responsibility for the clients. So then we called all the clients and then asked them about the restructuring and also clarification. Then what the role of the National Bank is quite serious, because first of all, they proposed, recommended, also they make it public. Plus, they also sent several explanations. What is the credit holidays, loan holidays, and they explained it quite thoroughly. Yeah, what is this? So then, guys, the interest is not forgiven, so you have to pay interest and so on. So it was good. From OXUS side, what we did, yeah, we started to protect our staff. So first of all, to protect the staff. Nothing matters, just staff. So let's protect the staff. As Farida said, yeah, we also bought sanitizers, masks just before the crisis. We also delivered the protocols, medical protocols, how to behave, what to do. We also, as we have a shareholder of ACTED, we also took some measures, some protocols from ACTED. So we started to adopt the take care, the protection of staff, and then we started to protect our business, yeah, how to protect. So restructure loans, talk to clients, have a good communication with the client. Then also work on BCP, this business continuity plan. Partially we took actually from other technical assistance group. Yeah, it was a document from them sent. We also delivered. So it was created a BCP, which actually responded to all our needs that time, which also moved us out of our offices to our home offices. So it also allowed us to split the teams into 2, 3, when part of the team could work, part of the team already stayed at home, just to limit the number of people number of staff contacting to various groups of people. So this has been done from our side. What can?
Yeah, it's you've mentioned this very close communication that you're currently having with your clients. It will be interesting to have an idea of how they feel about this close communication, what they feel about OXUS's response to the crisis, and how various groups of clients have been affected. You mentioned the problems caused by Russia and international trade with China. I imagine there must be differences between rural and urban areas as well.
Yeah. So talking about I will jump from the back. So from the rural urban, and also quite different approaches and quite different situations by clients from rural and urban area. As Farida said, 3 big cities, urban area cities were closed, totally locked down. So, and the clients in those areas, they have huge difficulties even to move. I mean, they cannot run business, they cannot come to the bank, they can use only WhatsApp, they cannot repay even. They can even go to payment terminals, but they cannot repay because it's full and not being done empty to proceed further payments. While in rural area, the people can continue to make agro, to continue to breed animals. Yeah. So they just have the normal activity. But when we talk about the payments or taking a new loan, what has been done also, not locking down the cities, they also lock down the villages, and client could not move from one village to another to repay a loan, or to go to the big town to repay a loan in the big town, or even to receive a loan. We collected through April several applications, I mean several dozens of applications, but we could not disburse because client cannot come to sign documents and to receive physical money. So this was also the issue. But to be honest, to be frank, so rural clients are much better off than our urban clients, because in urban we have services, we have some trade which is closed. Only the trade in food stores, pharmacies is quite okay. All other type of trade is closed. So this is quite sad. And then it will lead us to some losing of some businesses. What we talk about the communication. If we talk about the rural area, our clients are quite happy that we call them, we ask them how they are, how would they prefer to repay, and also we discuss with them that, okay, we do not charge you any penalty, which is prohibited in this time, but also if you will pay partially or if you pay in full, so let's discuss. Don't worry, we can wait. And so if you are not sure that you can repay the loan, so let's restructure, let's make a new payment plan for you just to be able to repay. Don't worry, I mean, don't be now, so take care of your family, and so take care of your food security. Don't be so calm. Okay, we can sort some issues with you and for you, but don't be so depressed. Okay, continue slowly. You will restart sooner or later. Some clients were okay. Huh?
I was going to say, your loan officers are developing a different role, I suppose, in many ways, the support they're having to give the different type of communication.
Exactly. Their role now is to support clients, to ask them to see the situation by each client, because some clients can repay, but still afraid of what coming next, what will be tomorrow, but they have still funds to repay. And some clients do not have funds. And this is the issue. So we need them to help them. What to do? I mean, we're disbursing loans, collecting applications, and then we continue to provide loans. Otherwise, the sense of the microcredit company will not be fulfilled.
And I suppose moving on to you, Farida, discussion that often comes up in Central Asia is the question and concern of over-indebtedness, also because there's a lot of consumption loans in the region. How are these concerns being managed at a time when actually clients are under considerable pressure their incomes are under considerable pressure?
I think overall, when we look at consumption, there is different sort of consumption. There is short-term consumption or celebration of weddings, that is a particular concern, but there is also consumption when we are talking about housing, renovation of housing. It can be consumption when you are purchasing a washing machine that's a durable good that improves your quality of life. So of course, as we all know, microfinance, it has two roles. One role is to build resilience by allowing clients to cope with emergencies, to build assets, and that is part of consumption. On the other hand, it's to make an opportunity. But until and unless you are confident in your future, until and unless you are confident that tomorrow you can provide for your food, you will not make risky investment. You will not do business. You will try to draw your money out of business. As Joachim told us today, clients are selling their assets. They are selling their livestock and using that to invest in agriculture. They are not ready to go for a risky investment to take a loan. So at this time, so overall, I think when we talk about consumption in Central Asia, it may be a bit skewed because statistics is collected on consumption overall without breakdown. When you look at breakdown, maybe weddings and short-term consumption is not that high of a share. That being said, I think now a level of consumption will increase. And as investors, impact investors, as stakeholders in responsible finance sector, we need to review our judgment and criteria of responsible consumption, at least at this responsible lending factors, at least at this time. Is it predatory lending if you are providing a loan for short-term consumption because a person cannot afford bread? Would you call predatory lending that a person disbursed a loan without visiting the client's business, without visiting the client's home, without doing proper analysis as we usually ask for? Is it predatory lending that you are giving a parallel loan when a person already had 2-3 loans from financial service providers and had a business sustaining it, but at this time he cannot or she cannot sustain the business? So it's, I think now this balance between responsible and irresponsible became even more sensitive, and it requires financial service providers to exercise more compassion, but also caution, because we cannot, another risk that we have if we say, okay, let's go to consumption, another risk is that in a year, we end up with a high share of non-bankable clients. Because if we give too many loans at this time, then credit history of these people will be stored in credit bureau for ages, and then these people, especially vulnerable population, will lose access to formal financial sector. So it is an important balance, but I agree that now maybe it is time to temporarily reconsider what do we consider responsible.
That's very interesting perspective, and I think gives us a lot to think about in Luxembourg in terms of our investment process and how we consider things in a very, very changed environment. Denis, I suppose one sort of, Joachim, you're obviously thinking how you're going to prepare for further lockdown measures. Denis, any advice?
Several advices, actually. The first one is this business continuity plan. So this is the must. So better to make 2 stages. The first stage is the easy lockdown, and second is this tough lockdown, a complete lockdown. So this are 2 ways. First, and also in this business plan, please consider the tools and the availability of tools, in how much time they will be available. So who does what? Plus, to the BCP, it should be strong communication with all your staff. So every day we inform people, our staff, so our branch managers and HQ staff, about measures that we take every day, what we do, how we do, why we do it, because the situation is changing quite every day, I would say, and sometimes you need to change the decision. Yeah, so no, guys, yeah, it's too much. So let's be very careful. So that's why the communication, BCP and communication. Plus, I wouldn't tell you. So it's internal discipline of people. Yeah. So if we said, so the first meeting starts at 8, so then it's at 8:30. So just not to let people, because people sit at home. Yeah, just not to let people be kind of feeling that they're at home. So they should feel it at work. Plus, the last one is the strong communication with clients. So communication with staff and clients. Just calling clients, asking them how are they, what are their plans? Restructure, new loan, waiting, business, good, no. So, and also the last point, which is important, is it's also a part of BCP to provide actually equipment to your staff who should be all the time involved in the daily business, in the daily activity of the business. This is the major advices. So nothing else. And digital.
Joachim. Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask how Joachim felt about this advice and how you were indeed preparing. Oh, volume.
Oh, I muted myself, so here I'm again. Thank you, Denis. That's really helpful. I think I need to talk to you personally after this and get more advice. We have, of course, done those things like the hygiene measures here, even paying transportation for our staff that they don't go on public transportation. We are starting today to check temperatures of all our staff and send them home early. We had a case last week of temperature, and they came to work, and we will be paying for we're giving them extra paid vacation in the future, so that they don't have to feel they don't have to come to the office to create an income. We are we are not preparing for electronic communication. It was interesting to hear from you here what you do in Kyrgyzstan. We have started our first training meeting online. Actually, it was the second. We had one meeting before the thing, but we are doing this more often now, preparing with equipment that we do a Skype meeting with our branches, where we can do 1 hour trainings or half an hour training, or maybe communication in the future, what you're saying, communicate more often. I see this as a need, reminding people. So we have this hygiene instruction. And I go to our branch office in Dushanbe, they should be the smartest, and they're still giving hands to the clients. And I say, why do you do that? You should not shake hands. We made this clear. This is in writing. We have a picture at the office in many places. Yeah, they will be offended if I don't give them the hand, and so on and so on. So we have to remind them. And outside of the office, we have no control. So that's what we're preparing right now. Of course, it's hard. We have no example really in country, but we hope that we don't get too much of issues here in Tajikistan.
And I think what's quite interesting is that this time, I mean, MFIs are always trying to balance their social and financial missions. How does this work during such a time? How are you preparing your social mission for this changing environment?
I participated at the training for managers, for leaders in March, and I learned something there. The trainer said people are paramount. It is most important in a crisis to lead people well, that you put people first. That is clients and staff. So we need to make sure that we look after our staff. As I mentioned, how many measures we made, we're paying extra for them, for these and those things. And when the kindergartens closed and the schools closed, we give our staff a vacation when they need it, outside of the planned vacation. That's just one person that needed that, and she's very concerned in Dushanbe. And she was asking us that she would work from home. And we are reviewing that right now. How could a loan officer work from home? That's very new to us, but we're considering it. And for clients, we're a little behind there, but we're just now starting payment terminals. So we give the option for our clients not to come to the office, but not to travel further, but especially in the capital where you have long distances, that they pay they're not coming to the office. And then we do the other things that others are doing, not charging penalties and reviewing, of course, loans for restructuring. But it's really hard with restructuring. You don't know how this lasts, so long. It may be a month, it may be 6 months. So we're only allowed to restructure loans once. That's why we're very careful to restructure. We don't have any instructions from National Bank right now, do this or do that. But it's very important that we put clients and people and staff first, because we believe after the crisis, they'll repay that even monetarily, financially to us in loyalty. And that's, I think, where we want to do a difference. We want to make a difference here in Tajikistan in our working environment and how we treat our clients.
That's a very, very good to hear. So we're getting to our last question. So if there's questions and answers, I can see that quite a few have already been added, and we'll go through them in a minute. But I had one last question that arose as a result of the inspiration call that we had, Farida was noticing that there was a lot of innovation arising out of the crisis. And I'd be very interested to know more about this innovation from all three of you and any long-term positive changes that could occur as a result of this difficult time. So perhaps starting with Farida, because you brought it up originally, but I'm sure both Denis and Joachim have some things to add on it.
I think the truth is that there is still, innovation is in the process, let's say. It is the think tank in every financial service provider, every business, and not just financial service providers. There is a process, whereas how do I revise, how do I review my business, and how do I make sure I'm sustainable in this new paradigm? Because everybody agrees that tomorrow, when lockdown is over, the world will be slightly different and we may not operate in our usual way. One of the things is that work from home may become one of the new norms. And I know financial service providers that are looking into introducing it on a constant basis, not just as a temporary measure now. I like information security campaign and communication that I receive from banks. That is a new thing. I think relevance of client protection is becoming much stronger. And I would, coming back to touch upon your previous question, I believe that social and financial balance is paramount. You cannot be financially sustainable if you don't have client focus, if you don't have staff loyalty, and if you are not transparent and you do not adhere to client protection principles. So one that cannot come without another. But to talk about innovation, I was more talking about ideas that are emerging from now. We see that it is not easy to do trade. It's not easy to trade livestock at the bazaar. Even with phased exit of the lockdowns that the government proposed, bazaars are not going to open their doors very soon, or at least they will be opening the doors with caution. And maybe it is a good time for impact investors like you and financial service providers like Denis and Joachim to come together and say, let's do a web platform where a low-income borrower that can trade livestock through website, and there will be a loan integrated in the process. Maybe it is time for MFIs to say, okay, there are people losing jobs, which is true, losing jobs, salary is being cut, so income is being reduced. Forced entrepreneurship will pick up soon, and maybe this is the time when we do a think tank and propose business plans, small business, a small plan for starting a new business with a small loan for a woman sitting at home with kids, because schools will start only in July. Like, how do I generate income if I cannot eat? Maybe I start selling cake or bread for someone who is working from home and doesn't have time to cook, right? It's another problem that women are facing working from home, that your household chores have increased a lot. So I think space for innovation is there, and it is good time for impact investors to think outside the box and say, we don't do just loan, maybe we do a development on a level of 3-4 MFIs, not just one MFI. But so far, the changes that we already put in place, there are not that many yet, I would say, except those that Denis and Joachim have already touched upon.
Denis, anything to add on this?
Sure. So it's the innovation that we say now on the country base, but on the company base, on the client's base, I would say that we need to add a kind of new communication channel in form of not WhatsApp, but kind of small app that the client, without going to office, can see his or her state, like the balance, the next payment, whatever. So we don't have it now, for example, in OXUS and in other companies, but it will be kind of now or later, we would need to keep already a small distance. I mean, it will not be like it was before. I mean, the distance will be now in place from after this COVID-19 crisis. So that's why to give to the client the feeling that we are with him. So it's a small app on the smartphone. You just double click and you see, okay, it's your balance and the next payment, some news from the company, some newsletter, some maybe offer, and that's it. I mean, it will be quite a good. Of course, we need also to have a human touch. I mean, they should come to the office to receive a loan, to have a discussion. Loan officer should communicate, go and see clients. But this kind of reach can also be of a good added value from this crisis. I mean, which is quite important. This added value.
hope some fintechs are listening in and will take up this idea. And Farida, I imagine you have some contacts in the area too. And Joachim, anything to add?
Yeah, I think communications will change how we do business more online, but I think it will be very slow in the regions, in the rural areas still, because people still trust technology not a lot, but they trust their contact. They don't trust the company, but their loan officer that they know, the face they know. So things will change in the cities, in the centers, in the capitals, a lot more. And we see that. We see already the winners developing and the losers showing up from the crisis.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Now, better move on to audience questions. Again, if you have any burning questions, please drop them into the questions and answers box. We've got a question from Dasun. Sorry, Dasun, I'm not very good at pronouncing your surname, Madumage, who is looking at the role that MFIs have to play in the post-corona period to rebuild communities and economic activities in rural areas. I'm not sure who anyone, perhaps Denis, would you have any thoughts on this, given that Kyrgyzstan will shortly be exiting its harsh lockdown? Oh, sorry, can't hear you.
Sorry. Exactly. So the role of MFI now, after we lift the lockdown, will be to provide additional funding for our clients to restart the activities, to somehow to increase the business assets or agricultural assets. This will be the role of MFIs now. So just to support clients, to renew the activity of clients. Okay, sometimes the government also supports, and now we're expecting some loans from the government in case it will be the program, the second package will be ready. So then it will be possible for MFI to get a discounted actually pricing for the loan from government, but also to provide to the clients with the low interest rate, just to revitalize, to restart the businesses. This is a huge role. I mean, because we can channel all this money to our small and micro, nano clients. I mean, how you can call whatever. So, but still, it's our role to channel this money to restart all these businesses.
Yeah, certainly. We've got Ilyas Mamadiarov, again, apologies for pronunciation, who's a research associate at the French Institute for Central Asian Studies, who had a few questions. These might be more your area, Farida. What will be the long-term impact of COVID crisis on loans interest rates in the region, particularly those disbursed by MFIs? Realise that's quite a technical question, but it would be interesting to have some thoughts.
So when we talk about interest rates in Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan, we should keep in mind that the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic recommends to keep your interest rate below average weighted rate for the market plus 15%. While in Tajikistan, this recommendation is not part of the law, but there is still a soft recommendation on official level to try to lower a burden that is put on the final borrower. Of course, microfinance institutions, most of the institutions, both in the Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan, they are self-sustainable. They are not subsidized, they are not donor-driven. So they have to make sure that their income at least covers their costs. At this time, it's probably hard to talk about high profitability expectations, but at least to cover their cost or not lose as much. Credit risk is one of the factors. And if we talk about long-term, I think in long-term, if we talk about long-term, it will come to equilibrium. I think what we are talking more about is a short to medium-term impact. You see local currency in Kyrgyz Republic has depreciated, while around 10-15% of largest MFIs, they have equity borrowings from foreign funders. So their cost has increased unless they had hedging. So that should be reflected in the interest rate. Credit risk is growing, but National Bank has allowed to be more lenient with provisioning policies, so that should allow to control for your provisioning expenses to a certain extent, of course, because you still need to reflect your risk. And so in short to medium term, we may see adjustments, but on the other hand, We also see lower demand for loans. We heard that people are more cautious, and so there is more liquidity that may be accumulated, because at this today, MFIs are facing liquidity shortage. They need liquidity because they're restructuring loans, and they need to deal with this uncertainty. But once lockdown eases and loans start being repaid slowly, there may be liquidity being accumulated, and maybe MFIs will go for cheaper lending. It's hard to say. You would expect interest rate to increase slightly, but because there is recommendation from regulator, MFIs are not as free as they could be, but also competition pressure is there. Concessional funding that Denis mentioned is coming from Kyrgyz government, and if it is channeled, regardless if it is channeled through banks or MFIs, it will be contributing to competition. So I don't see a big impact yet because of these different factors that are influencing the loan price.
And we've got another question from the researcher who is interested to know if there is a rise in unemployment as a result of the COVID crisis, are the microfinance institutions likely to see an increase or a decrease in customers or clients? I'd be interested to know perhaps the thoughts from some of the, well, perhaps Farida first. Do you have the...
I can just talk about the theory. Yeah. That we know microfinance, it fosters self-employment. Microfinance role is limited in job creation per se, like to grow number of staff in one business, that's quite difficult to do through a micro loan, that is $5,000, $10,000 loan. But to foster self-employment and to help forced entrepreneurs, those that cannot find income, I think that's a role microfinance can definitely play. And I would agree with you that Denis and Joachim are much better experts to talk about this topic.
Yes, Joachim, Denis, anything to add? Oh, the microphone's off again.
Yeah, I've muted myself. So I expect that the crisis will not have a long-term impact on unemployment because we're so much inside Tajikistan, not much, but people are traveling abroad to more and more other countries. Tajiks just used to go to Russia, but now they're going to Dubai, they're going to Germany, they're going to America to work. Everywhere they can go. So outside the country, well, Tajiks are really active looking for employment. Inside the country, things are developing. The economy is growing. We have a huge growth in population as well, so we need that. So I don't expect that the COVID crisis will create in long term a lot of unemployment.
And then we've got a final question on the shape of the informal economy. Is the COVID crisis going to change the current breadth and extent of the informal economy in Central Asia? Denis, do you have any thoughts on this?
Actually, I have no idea because what we learned now, we learned almost to informal economy. So if we talk about the big elephants of our economy, about textile business, some extraction of gold mining business, so some of the business can go to the shadow, but now the one of the governmental approach to the tax is to postpone some taxes. So if we want to go to shadow because we don't want to pay taxes, so it's no reason to go now in shadow. So unemployment, yes, it will rise during these several months, but then everything will be calmed down, as Joachim said. So then I think that we have enough gray economy. I mean, we have like 40–45%. It will be the same. I mean, plus minus a little bit, but not more.
Right. Thank you very, very much. And it's now 11:45, so I need to wrap this up. Really interesting perspectives from all of you. I've got a lot to think about, both in terms of the perspectives we need to have as lenders, what attitudes we may need to change in terms of whether we expect an on-site visit to all our clients, how this is going to work going forwards in a very, very changed environment. I also hope that someone will pick up some of these ideas for innovation, notably an app to assist MFIs with communication. So I would really like to thank all our panelists for all these fantastic ideas, for everything you've said. I hope that our attendees have been able to gain a lot from this. We haven't scheduled our next Voices from the Ground session, but we will be in touch via our newsletter and social media, so do keep an eye out for this. And thanks again to everyone for listening and for joining us today, and thanks in particular to our panelists.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye everybody. Bye.